So I finished watching the Obi-Wan TV series or streaming series going on Disney Plus, and I think this has to be the definition of today when we talk about content. This is like pure content. It's just there. It doesn't really do anything. It's there to keep you subscribed to Disney Plus, to keep Star Wars going, I guess, in some way. Um, I don't think anything of real proper value can be gained from watching this. One thing it struggles with is, of course, what all other uh, in between sequels, no, not prequels, kind of struggle with it. We know where it's going to start, and we know where it's going to end. Like we know how Obi-Wan started, like the character, and we know how Obi-Wan the character finished. That was settled a long time ago. All you can do in between is flesh out, try and explain something that honestly didn't need to be explained. Um, but it's uh, you can't really do anything of value of meaning because um, they would have to mention it later. To be clear, the series Obi-Wan takes place before Episode 4, the first Star Wars movie from 1977. So Obi-Wan is going to end up, you know that going in, he's going to end up as an old man in a hut on Tatooine around Luke. And so he can't do any battles or any changes in history because they're not going to mention it in the movie that was shot a long time ago, but not in a galaxy far, far away. I think also now looking at TV shows like Hawkeye, uh, Loki, Boba Fett, that we can say that there seems to be a Disney streaming show formula, which is to tease a main character, draw people in with a main character, and then introduce someone else, and then have it be mostly about that same character. Like they're not really that interested in um, the original character or legacy character, whatever you want to call it. It was kind of the thing for Loki, really the thing for Hawkeye, sort of the thing as well for Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan also shares the stage a lot um, in this show called Obi-Wan. Um, and I'm not sure I like it. Given how successful The Mandalorian still is and really was kicking this off, and especially with Baby Yoda, I actually thought that there would be a baby Java just going "Ooh, teeny" all the time, and I could have lived with that, could have had fun with that. They didn't, so that was interesting. That was surprising. There was Java. It was nice. That was nice. If you played the video game Jedi Fallen Order, which I recommend you do, I think it's a great game. I had a flashback um, to some scenes in Obi-Wan where it's like there's a place that Obi-Wan needs to get into, and it's the same place and the same way that you do it in the game. But of course, the game is a bit old by now, so it was a long time ago. Also not in a galaxy far, far away. But that was just curious and saying, wow, okay, is this borderline rip-off or is it still within homage territory? I don't know. And I'm not sure a lot of people will notice because you have to play the game, remember that sequence, and now watch Obi-Wan do the same thing. But it was fun anyway. I'm not sure what to call this. Obi-Wan seemed to me to have a lot of strong cases of where the scripts, there's no plural there, but the script needs something to happen, but they can't not make it silly when realized, when shot. And I'm not sure if how you can prepare for that. I'm thinking like if I had done it, I wrote a script. I need something to happen, but there's no way to make it not look silly. How do you do that? And some of the cases was there's a child running from three adults. It needs to happen, but it looks really, really stupid. Um, there was someone doing 20 backflips and parkour moves to move only like a few blocks. That also looked very silly. Um, oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Some characters that are just getting introduced, um, and they get killed, and I'm supposed to feel sad about it, but I don't because you just introduce these characters in a very offhand way. Um, there's a woman, and that's not to say something about women, but it's a physical weak character knocking out two stormtroopers by hitting their helmet with her bare hands. It looks really, really silly, and it takes. I said it takes you out of it. It removes all realism, and I guess yeah, Star Wars doesn't have that realism, but now anyone can do everything. And I didn't like that. Maybe you've seen the clip of there's a child being smuggled under a trench coat. It's just really, really stupid, and it doesn't work. You're supposed to have this empire that's whoa dangerous, but you can knock stormtroopers out with no ease, or you can smuggle things in trench coat. It takes away from the feeling of the empire being something to fear when you just have stupid stormtroopers. There's also two groups standing in the open, shooting at each other for like 5 minutes straight, and they hit nothing. It looks very stupid. I didn't like it. Another thing that also bugs me a lot in stories is when characters get out of a situation due to randomness and coincidence, something that they aren't in control of. And there's many cases of that in Obi-Wan. And it's just not. I don't think it's good story writing or storytelling. It's good to get into trouble because of something that wasn't your choice or because of something unforeseen. But it feels like what you say like main character plot armor. If you like go to jail, but then luckily the guard dropped the key, so you're not really doing anything. That's not exciting. Um, so overall, Obi-Wan, because of the limitation of the characters that it wants to follow, the show wants to follow Obi-Wan, it can't really do anything. As I mentioned before, in the end, it's more pointless to some degree. Like it's just a status quo because he's gonna end up in the first movie, and and we know how he started. So because they want to tell about this Obi-Wan. Otherwise, they had to move it to like young Obi-Wan um, before Episode 1. But still, that Obi-Wan couldn't do anything of note because that's also not mentioned. Like Qui-Gon introduces Obi-Wan, he doesn't say, "Oh, this is Obi-Wan. He freed some people or he fought this battle." So you can't have that. It's. I don't think you're setting yourself up for a difficult fight when you're doing a show like this. In the end, my sister seemed to like it a lot. She's a huge Star Wars fan, and she's the one that pays for the Disney Plus subscription. So well done, I guess. You pleased your audience. Um, yeah. So that was Obi-Wan. Okay, so I just finished watching The Umbrella Academy season 4, and there's something weird about how I want to watch this show. I kind of enjoy a lot of what this show does, but after 40 minutes, I start second screening it. I start tuning out. I don't want to finish it. It's really weird. I've been trying to thinking about it. Um, like Umbrella Academy is not for binging because I lose interest like that. but it's too complicated. I feel like not to bench. Like many characters and situations are introduced, and it is really weird. I wonder if the comic, this one is of course like everything else based on something else, based on a book, based on a comic. This one's based on a comic. I wonder if the comic is just as messy, if it's still ongoing. Um, that would be interesting. Like as I said, I really like this show. I want to like it more, um, but it introduces so many things of concept and mechanics and character, um, but in a weird order. It introduces it late in like a season, so it'd be like, okay, this isn't gonna be resolved this season, or is this gonna be needed? It's kind of like a tonal issue or flow issue. Uh, like some characters would be fighting while others would be learning. So kind of like say, no, don't cut away from the fighting. It's weird, and I think it could have been a better, and the show would have been a lot better. But I wonder if it's part of the course for Umbrella Academy, or if they made it like that. One of my pet peeves, things that I really don't like in stories, and there's a lot of in Umbrella Academy, is that there's a lot of situations where characters just can't set aside personal stuff to focus on bigger tasks, or just um, they kind of like one line argument is like what I call it. They're not actually listening or making arguments, coming to a decision, making a compromise. They're just stating their point of view or their situation, or not agreeing with another character's point of view or situation just because. And I know it takes a lot to not write things like that, but I'm just not into when they do like that. It just bothers me a lot. There's also a ton of mystery, different things that are set up, introduced, or hinted at, and so far, because I've just finished season 4, and there will be other season, that seems for sure. There's a lot of mystery set up that so far has never been resolved, and that is also not good. Not good for me, at least not for my enjoyment of your story, because I get like investment fatigue and be like, what am I gonna pay attention to if you keep telling me to pay attention to 12 things? I can't do that. And the story is not just straightforward. I mean, it is, but there is time travel in it. And there's not only time travel, but alternative timelines. So, telling a complicated story, but in a clear way, or telling a clear story in a complicated way, can both be done. But this one I feel like is telling a complicated story in a complicated way, and it can't be done, or it's not working for me anyways. Very successful is what I'm trying to say. It's very picky, but you can't know that going in. It's very picky with what characters or what events, what organizations matter. And and since I can't tell as a viewer from the outside, I have to be fully paying attention. I can't go, oh, I can't say I can ignore this for keeping a better enjoyment of the story, because a lot of things are introduced. But it is picky with character death, and something like some characters we've been following around for a lot of episodes suddenly just die. I want to say like randomly, with no big fanfare, no big build-up, and then no big payoff, no big follow-up. It's just, no, that character's not around anymore. And that can be like family members to another character, and they can be like, these two family members just died like half an hour ago. Okay, whatever, I don't care. And then there could be another friend or something that died, and they can be bringing that up for the next 3 episodes, which is still only going to be roughly a couple of hours at most in universe. It's a weird thing. It's a huge disconnect, um, and it drains on me when I'm watching it. A question I keep having when I'm uh, watching this, and I think that may be the style intentional, but it's why are people so bad at what they're supposed to do? Some people that job. Um, the Umbrella Academy is a Netflix series with, as many other Netflix series, with people with superpower or some supernatural elements. But these people also are bad at it and fight eternally. They're supposed to be a team, and it's really frustrating for me to look at. Like people, like I can watch people struggle. That's kind of like a montage, training people, improving. But to see some siblings just fighting because they are, it loses the appeal on me really fast. Like there's that dad. That sounded really good. The dad of the children, he's very absent, and he's very bad at training them, and he's very bad at team building team, making them work together. He's very cruel to them. I guess that's kind of part of the story that he's not good at it, but it's frustrating to watch, and we could be like, why are you bad at this that you need to happen? I can tell now because I just finished season 4. It couldn't be the other 3 seasons. He has a very clear, defined goal. Now, it's a bit more vague in the first 3 seasons, but he wanted the kids to do something. He needed them to fulfill a task. He had something that he was training them to do that he never told them about. And then he was so bad at it. I don't get it. It's an annoying experience. They do a lot of the things with the time travel, but one thing they're struggling with here is a paradox. Until they then, well, they still struggle with, but then they go into a room and they be like, oh, things are normal here, and there's a guy and they're saying, oh yes, I built this paradox-proven room. This room can't have paradoxes in it. Like, okay, that's just really, really weird. And it gets too weird for me because they don't check. They just say, oh, okay, you build a paradox-proven room. Like, how even you do that? And I think that's a small example of like the whole series. That is like high concept introduced, but mundane. It's yeah, it wears me out for some reason. I hope the series ends. That's a weird thing, but I mean I need stories to have a beginning, conclusion, or beginning, middle, and end. A beginning, setup, something, and a conclusion. It doesn't need to be like a happy ending or anything, but satisfying in some way. Like I can be fine with a Inception ending, an open ending. You just need an ending. I don't need this to tread water until the viewer numbers, the engagement is so little that they just fizzle out and not really finish anything. So I hope the series ends. I hope it ends satisfactorily, and I hope it ends soon. Like you've been treading waters with these characters and all that. It's getting a bit tiresome. No story has ever been better by being drawn out and continues for what is for a TV series now 4 seasons, 40 episodes of hours, 40 hours, like hours and hours. You can't tell a story. You can't keep an audience engaged for hours and hours. As I said, I just finished season 4, and I can't, of course, tell for sure because the show hasn't ended. Umbrella Academy hasn't ended. But if it were to end soonish, I can say that there have been characters, event mechanics, and rules introduced just to be dropped, just to be let out and gone nowhere, leading into nothing. And that's not good storytelling. That needs cleaning up. That needs what we call editing. That's why you have an editor saying, oh, you're introducing this character, but he doesn't provide anything. But that's what you get with a business model like Netflix. They just need the hours. They need people to keep subscribing for a month. It would be sort of against Netflix interest to cut the 40 hours of Umbrella Academy down to 12 hours of very condensed and clear storytelling. That's a weird situation we are in. In storytelling, there's this concept called the Chekhov gun. It's a way to describe this thing. If there's a gun, or rifle in this case, introduced in Act 1 of a theater of a screenplay, the gun should be fired in Act 3 or in Act 2. It's just trying to say, if you introduce something, it should be used, because audience has limited attention. So you can't say, here's the 10 characters, and then one of them does something, because they're still wondering about the other 9. And Umbrella Academy suffers a lot from that, where there's things introduced that we have no idea if this is important or not. But I like the series, and I hope that it finishes well. Gonna keep watching it at least for a little bit more. So yeah, those were my thoughts.